My name is Don Pitzer, and I am Professor Emeritus of History and Director Emeritus of the Center for Communal Studies at the University of Southern Indiana. It is my privilege to introduce you to Dr. Joshua Lockyer and our discussion of his recent book to be posted on the website of the center. Josh, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hi. My name is Josh Lockyer. I am soon to be Professor of Anthropology at Arkansas Tech University. I've been studying intentional communities for over a couple of decades now, including most prominently Celo Community.
I want to show your book first, and I'm hoping that I can get the entire book on the screen. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to, so I'm going to show the title, and then I will read the entire title, which is Seeing Like a Commons, 80 Years of Intentional Community Building and Commons Stewardship in Celo, North Carolina. It's published by Lexington Books and in 2021. I want to say that my friend Josh Lockyer is an anthropologist, and I, as a historian, have been associated for many years in the study of utopian communal groups. We've both given our papers at conferences of the Communal Studies Association, and Lexington Books asked me to review the manuscript for Josh's very remarkable on-site research study of Celo, the longest lasting secular communal utopia in America. And I'm pleased to be quoted on the book's cover saying that, quote, "It is ethnography, history, and communal utopian studies at their best." So let me ask you a few questions, and we'll get into discussion. Josh, what aspects of the Celo community were so intriguing that you began going there to learn its reform ideas and communal practices over 20 years ago?
Well, there's not a short answer to that question. I think it goes back to, quite early in my life, just being aware that things in human society, and particularly in American society and culture, were not on a sustainable, resilient, regenerative track. I think it goes back to living in the desert and watching the desert in southern Arizona being gobbled up by development. Just recognizing that couldn't continue forever. It goes back to my time as an undergraduate and my first year or so in graduate school, both studying anthropology and seeing some of the environmental and social challenges around the world and tracing back the roots to those problems and challenges back to a system, global industrial consumer capitalism, individualism, taken to an extreme degree, really creating challenges, and a lot of that sort of cultural paradigm being rooted here at home. Mm-hmm. And so in graduate school, as I was searching for a topic for my doctoral research, I wanted to know who was doing something about that, who was creating a different way of seeing the world and being in the world here at home, where, again, industrial consumer capitalism and individualism has been taken to the highest degrees, the most extreme degrees. And I really just had the good fortune of stumbling onto the topic and stumbling across Celo Community.
What features of the Celo community make it so relevant to current human and environmental challenges?
Well, as I sort of already alluded to, I think it's just a different way of seeing and being. It's that they've cultivated a shifted cultural paradigm that is grounded in cooperation and care for the environment and care for each other, but also care for the wider world and its other inhabitants, other humans, and other people. Here's a group of people that have really very deliberately tried to figure out a way to cooperate, to share resources, to govern themselves, and to enable themselves to live more simply and support each other in doing that. You know, back, I mentioned being in graduate school, and stumbling upon the community happened through just going to talk to an old family friend from Arizona, one of my dad's old friends, and explaining to him what I was looking for. And he said, well, there's this community down the road, this cooperative community that stewards this beautiful piece of land together and has done it for 80 years. I think we should go check them out. I think you might be interested. It was a really fortuitous occurrence.
I believe readers will find maybe the most engaging and informative feature of your book to be the many vignettes you present of your revealing interviews with Celo's communitarians. They were facing serious interpersonal and governing challenges that were resolved by mutual respect, shared ideals, and consensus decision making. Do you have some feelings on that part of your book?
Yes, and I hear my dogs barking in the background. I'm sorry, that's unavoidable. I hope that's not too disruptive. Yeah, those come from many years of doing ethnographic research there, or being in the community and talking to people about their shared endeavor. Copious notes, many transcripts, and that was just the way to try to bring the community to life, the way I saw it over all the years I spent doing research there.
You and I are both into ideas and theories, and I wanted to ask you, how do you employ the community design principles identified by political economist Eleanor Ostrich? And then in this book, you also apply your theory of transformative utopianism, which may have been inspired by my theory of developmental communalism. And so I would like for you to tell us how transformative utopianism leads to a deeper understanding of the longevity of Celo and other movements that have organized as communal societies in an early stage.
So I think there are two topics there. They're interrelated, and I'll take them one at a time, and we can start with the commons design principles, Eleanor Ostrom's design principles. And those come from her career as a political economist, spent studying situations around the world where people do cooperate to steward resources in a sustainable way. And doing a meta study of that, she concluded that there are 8 basic principles of operation wherever people are cooperating to steward resources. And that just seemed like a good heuristic framework to use to understand what was going on in Celo as a cooperative community. So as I approached writing the book, I said, do I see these 8 things, or 11 things really, because she split 3 of the principles into 2. Do I see them in Celo? And if so, what do they look like? How do they work there? So it was really a heuristic framework for organizing the book and analyzing Celo community. And I've got a chapter on each of the principles in the book. And then as far as transformative utopianism, which that whole idea certainly would not have been possible without your work on developmental communalism, and your efforts to try and shift the frame of how we look at and understand communal utopias, expand the framework not just judge them based on how long they last as a communal entity. But let's look beyond that. How do the changes last beyond that? What other changes do they create? So it was a similar thing for me, and it was really in me trying to understand what happened with Celo. And being in conversation with a previous ethnographer who studied the community back in the 70s and 80s and sort of concluded, well, this community had big grand ideas when it started, but it didn't achieve them. And maybe he didn't say it in quite as concise a way, but it's a utopian failure. And it just did not seem to me like that was the case. Yeah, they may not have achieved every goal that was set, that was part of the grand vision at the beginning of the community, but they have had a lot of success. And as you said, they're one of the longest lasting, not the longest lasting, secular American communal utopia that exists today. So, I wanted to understand how, even though they haven't achieved everything they set out to do, how have they still been successful? And how have they influenced people and other communities beyond their borders?
I want to show the book again, maybe a little better than I did the first time. And Seeing Like a Commons, this is an outstanding book. It has research in it that needs to be read by both laymen and scholars alike. And you have a wonderful picture there of kind of picnic that they're having at Celo. So thank you, Josh. We truly appreciate, on behalf of the Center for Communal Studies, you are doing this interview with me.
Thank you so much, Don. It's an honor.
So,
absolutely.
thank you so much.
My pleasure.